Welcome to the Hundredth Monkey Radio with Tom and LFE. We are recording this on February 2nd of 2016. And man, you know what? We're already in February.
Already.
It's just like, boom. I mean, that first month is gone already.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with the way time has been just going by so damn fast. The last, especially the last, well, since 2012, it seems like just yesterday it was all the 2012 hype.
Yep.
You know, and here we are 4 years past that. Well, 3.5 years past that.
And it seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or last week.
Yeah.
Right. Not necessarily yesterday, but last week anyway.
Yeah. Last week was 2012 and, halfway after that was 2013. Yeah. Just super quick.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody out there. We've been getting a few donations ever since we changed our format here at the beginning of the year. And, we really do appreciate everything that everybody is contributing to keep the show afloat. And, just keep it coming, guys. I mean, we definitely do need that continued support. A lot of different ways that you can do that on our show here. You can set yourself up as a recurring payment, which is fantastic and amazing, to help us, be a sustainable, icon out there, or a figure out there on the internet, sharing information with everybody. You can do one-time donations or, all sorts of ways. There's all sorts of stuff on the website too, that you can, or options that you can use. Or if you're listening to these shows and you are liking what you hear, pass it on to a friend.
Yeah.
Tell somebody else, hey, you got to check out the 100th Monkey Radio. They've got some amazing people on there. They got 7 years worth of archives over there of some pretty damn amazing people, and they just continue to grind this stuff out. So much appreciated, guys, and much love to you anyways. So we're going to get right into the show tonight. We've only got our guests on for an hour tonight. We've got Betsey Lewis back with us. And as all of you loyal 100th Monkey Radio followers know, we've had Betsy on several times through the last few years. And she is just near and dear to my heart. She is one of those, she's a nature spirit. And, that's about the best way I can describe her, because she is so connected into Mother Earth, and she has such a deep compassion and love for nature, for the planet, and for helping us to become sustainable with this planet and the nature that we have here in place. I mean, the planet Earth, Mother Earth, is going to survive no matter what us humanity do to her. But for us to continue to coexist with her, we really need to pull our heads out of our proverbial asses and start paying attention to what we're doing here and how we're affecting our own environment. So welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, Betsy. Much love to you.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys are so sweet to say that. And I love being called a nature spirit. That's so beautiful. I like that.
Well, I can't see you any other way. I mean, because every time we've talked, it seems like the prominent concern on your mind and your heart and your soul is Mother Earth and our connection to Mother Earth.
Yes.
So, and I see that as kind of the focal point, or the center point of all the activity that you're doing out there, has to do with connecting back into what we have here.
Oh, absolutely. I feel that's why I'm here now, why I came into this planet at this time. I was reborn at this time to make people aware of that we are surrounded by sentient beings in the plants and the trees and the water and, just everything, all the elements in Earth. And we've forgotten that connection. We have a separation disease right now. And I want to see people get back connected with Mother Earth, because she warns us before major events happen, major earthquakes, volcanoes. And if we're warned, at least we can prepare and we can get out of the way of all these things. And I think we've got a lot of big things that are going to start happening. I mean, they're already happening now, and we're getting warnings.
Right, right. You've got a new book out here, and this is your first one where first book you've done where you've actually dedicated it to a year and beyond.
Right.
And I know each year that you've been putting out your list of predictions on your website.
Right.
But I really like the way that you've put this in between a couple of covers and put it out as a book. And you go into a lot of some of the more famous prophets of our past who have done the same type of work that you're doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Some of these prophecies go back 2,000 years. We're talking about Apostle John 2,000 years ago in Revelations, and either he was describing a nuclear holocaust or nuclear bombs that are just going to destroy most of the earth, or we're going to destroy ourselves, in some way, but maybe Planet X or something. There's a shift of the Earth's axis. So it's pretty disturbing, and perhaps these things will never happen. People say, well, Nostradamus made a lot of predictions, and some of his predictions didn't come true, and maybe it was the way, they just didn't understand how to interpret his predictions, his quatrains. But, there's just a lot of predictions out there that are dire, and I think we can change those things. The indigenous people say that we have the power to come together and, have more reverence for Mother Earth, and there'll be less, earthquakes, less, huge earth movement if we, just start honoring Mother Earth instead of trying to destroy her at this time.
Yeah. I've read a lot of the old prophecies, from the Bible, to Edgar Casey. I mean,
right.
I've looked at quite a few of the different prophets through history, and I think one of the more challenging aspects of reading those works is trying to interpret what they were actually trying to say with my 21st century vocabulary and understanding. And I mean, just look at the Revelations, for example, and this is an excellent one to use as an example. I mean, that was spoken in a language that's 2,000 years old now.
Right.
I mean, the metaphors that they use, the iconography that they use within all of this stuff is from 2,000 years ago, and their understanding of the things that they're talking about there is from 2,000 years ago versus where we are today and the way we see things and the way we understand things. It's kind of hard to overlay those onto today's world. I mean, it's definitely a bit more of a challenge for us to get real accurate with what they were talking about in today's language.
Exactly. Yeah, they were using their vernacular to describe something that was probably just beyond their comprehension. If you were shown something by maybe aliens of 1,000, 2,000 years into the future, and you tried to describe it, it would be pretty difficult. It could be so fantastic, and I think that's what Apostle John was trying to do when he was describing. There's one description that it's in Revelation 6:13, and it says, "And the stars of heaven fell into earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and every island were moved out of their places." And this is what happens with the nuclear explosion. The atmosphere really rolls back on itself.
Right.
It's a tremendous rush of air that backs into a vacuum that causes much of the destruction of a nuclear explosion. And what's really interesting is the atomic scientists just announced that we were 3 minutes away from doomsday, midnight, because of our technology. And look what North Korea just did. They said they detonated a thermonuclear warhead, experimented with that. And
didn't they say that was a hydrogen bomb?
Well, they were saying, I thought, a thermonuclear one, but I don't know. They were saying it was just a nuclear. Everybody's saying around the world that it couldn't have been that big.
Right.
So I hope it wasn't. But that's pretty scary, isn't it?
Yeah, North Korea is definitely a pretty wild card right now on the world stage, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a loose cannon over there.
Yeah.
He really is. But, these predictions, maybe they were talking about our times and where we've come. Never in the world's history has there been 7.3 billion people on the planet and, destroying the planet as fast as we're doing it. So if a natural disaster doesn't happen, a cataclysmic event doesn't happen, we're going to do it to ourselves. We're at that point, and I hate to say that, but look at our oceans are dying. Every time I pick up something, I see that, we're destroying the coral reefs around the world because of, like in Tanzania, the fishermen there are throwing bombs into the water to kill fish,
Right.
And they're destroying the coral reefs, and without the coral reefs, there can be no fish. The fish die. It's just this symbiotic relationship with all things. And, that's always when humans interfere with nature that we break that cycle, that beautiful pattern and cycle of Mother Earth. And if we don't stop, it's crazy. We're taking all of Mother Earth's water and uranium and everything, all the minerals out of her, and the ancient people, even the Australian Aboriginals, believe they came from a star system in another galaxy, and they came here because their world was being destroyed. They came here as spirits, and they decided to put an energy grid around Earth. And now they say that everything's out of balance because we're taking all the natural minerals out of the earth. We're taking everything that needs to hold this energy grid together. And, we're just totally out of balance. Everything is just chaotic right now.
Right. Out of all of the prophets throughout history, and I'm kind of pointing towards the older ones. Let's maybe 50 years and beyond. I mean, I want to get Edgar Cayce grouped into this.
Okay,
but,
sure.
Taking a look at all the prophecies throughout history, are there any that really stand out for you as being played out now on the world stage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cayce did make a lot of predictions. He said that he thought the Earth was going to shift. The axis was going to shift. A lot of people think that that's a magnetic shift, and scientists have been talking about a magnetic shift with the Earth. So maybe he wasn't talking about an actual physical shift, but a magnetic shift. And I would say that just a lot of these predictions sound like, it could be many, many things. There was Saint Hildegard. She lived from 1098 to 1178 or 79, and she had a great vision of a comet that will cause huge earthquakes, storms, and tidal waves. And that could be Planet X. And these scientists lately, Caltech scientists, made a really strange statement about Planet X when they announced that they had found something in the solar system they're calling the ninth planet. And
Right.
I'm sure you're aware of that. You've probably been talking about that. But what really surprised me about what they said, and I know Planet X is out there, Linda Moulton Howe interviewed Mike Brown. He's one of the scientists at Caltech, California Institute of Technology in Pasadena. And she was on Coast to Coast on January 28th. And she asked him about that. And he kind of backpedaled because when they made the original press conference just last week, this is what he said verbatim. And you tell me if this isn't about Planet X. He said, If you say we have evidence for Planet X, almost any astronomer will say this again. These guys are clearly crazy. I would too, Brown says. Why is this different? This is different because this time we're right. So would you say that they're saying that Planet X is out there,
Well,
And
this is the same. This is basically they're using the same data that they used in 1983 when they first announced it. I mean, they looked at the gravitational anomalies and forces that were pulling on known objects in our solar system, and saying that there's enough of a gravitational effect here that there has to be something there.
Right, yeah. In 1983, this ran in all the different newspapers across the country, including the Washington Post. And they said that this object was 11 times the Earth, the size of Jupiter, and they had caught it on one of their satellites or something orbiting out there, that they had actually seen it and photographed it, and they knew it was out there. They weren't sure how to classify it, as a planet, a giant comet, a nearby protostar. They just didn't know what to call it, and I thought that's really interesting. And then they retracted the statement, the whole press conference, and tried to bury it. And I thought that's really easy, interesting. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
And they said it's as large as Jupiter and as close to Earth as 50 billion miles. Well, that may seem like a great distance in earthbound terms. It's a stone's throw in cosmological terms.
Right.
So they're saying that it's really close, and it's part of our solar system. And that it said that let's see, the mystery body has been seen twice by infrared satellite as it scanned the northern sky from last January to November, and that's 1983, when the satellite ran out of super cold helium that allowed its telescope to see the coldest bodies in the heavens. So if this is a brown dwarf or a failed star, which was part of our binary solar system, we have the sun, and it seems like every solar system out there has twin stars. So that would make sense that this is a part of our twin star.
Yeah. I also found that kind of interesting that in this recent press release that the article I read, they were talking about the elliptical orbit that they are guessing that it has is what they say, a 10 to 20,000 year cycle or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Right.
But it and the great range that they threw out there, I was like, okay, well, they really don't know.
No, they don't know.
When they throw it out at that big of a margin out there, okay, these guys are scientists and they got math, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
If they can't narrow it down to a closer period than 10 to 20,000 years, then they just flat out don't know. And when I read that part, I was like, well, how come why couldn't it be that 3,600 year thing that that was that goes back into all sorts of different mythologies and prophecy and et cetera, Wormwood. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
3,600 year orbit and
sure, absolutely, and I'm sure it's out there, and I think that's what's causing all these strange Earth movements and sounds, these mysterious booms that people are hearing all over the world and all over the United States. And it just happened in New Jersey on January 28th that people were calling in and saying they heard these booms and the shaking. And of course, the Navy came out and said, oh, it wasn't anything mysterious. It was just a sonic boom, one of our jets breaking the sound barrier. Well, I've been in many, sonic booms when they've been overhead, here in Idaho. And I know it doesn't shake the ground like an earthquake. And these people described it as like an earthquake. And I said, if my theory's right about these booms, and I think it's deep core earth movement, that there's going to be a huge earthquake in the next day or two. And guess what? The next day, there was a 7.2 earthquake in Russia. Right. So I think they're all connected.
Yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see a lot stranger things going on with our planet, and NASA with their announcements, and get ready for the ride, everybody. It's going to be crazy this year.
Yeah. So in 1983 is the first time that they were able to see this planet.
Yeah, well, I guess it even goes back a little further. Maybe in 1981, there were some things that were said by NASA, but this was one of the big announcements that came out.
And then 33 years later, they see it again.
Yeah, but it sounds like somebody got to them and told them not to say too much to Linda Moulton Howe, that, it's the 9th planet and we haven't seen it. It's just a hypothesis and and she says, well, could it be Planet X? Yeah. Well, could it be Planet X? Well, we're not sure, Yeah.
Well, Planet X or the unknown planet, would it not be Planet X? Just for conversational purposes?
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I guess they don't want to say the Planet X word. It's just a big no-no, I guess. And I think that, the reason is I think they don't want us to panic as these Earth changes continue to accelerate, with the extreme weather all over the world. And we're just going to see more crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're ready.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer, and I know that you kind of lean this way too, Betsy, that our own personal development has a lot to do with what is happening weather-wise and geologically on the planet. I mean, the level of consciousness here has a tremendous amount to do with how things are unfolding for planet Earth also.
Oh, Tom, you're so right. You are so right. I believe that thoughts are things. That's energy that we're putting into the universe, into the cosmos, and it's also going into the earth. All the fear and all the anger that we're feeling, it's right there, and the earth is feeling it too. And I don't think Mother Earth is doing anything to punish us. I think she's just trying to survive. Any kind of organ, or just any kind of plant or anything has to.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what happens when you walk into a room and there's somebody in there that's in a really sour mood? Mm-hmm. I mean, you get in a sour mood, right? I mean, that kind of stuff has a tendency to pollinate.
Yeah. Yeah. It rubs off. Well, and so. Now, when these people, back in history made these predictions, do you think that they were, making these predictions based on the base level of consciousness of the population of Earth? And if the population of Earth stayed at that level of consciousness, then these are the things that are going to happen. Whereas, throughout time, or here lately, more and more people have been on their awakening process. So the level of consciousness is raising. So, do you think that kind of that correlates with it?
Well, it's kind of everything that you said. I think that the Earth's consciousness is rising. I think that many of us are also evolving, and we're taking the next step. The indigenous people say we're going from the 4th world into the 5th world, and the vibrational rate of Earth is also changing, which, everything evolves, everything. And so planet Earth is going to go through this evolution. And I think it's all necessary. This is just part of the cycle of Earth. Yeah. And it will keep going, but it's to help us. We're all here at this time because we chose to be here at this time. Oh, yeah. And we will come back, because there is no death. Life is infinity. It goes on, and even if you're in another dimension or go to the other side, what we call death, it doesn't end. So what we're doing here is a lesson. Earth is a classroom. And what we do here is really important for our brownie points,
Right.
and that's what I call them, in our learning process. And it's all so important. But this is a time where we knew that there were going to be all these massive changes, and how we handle it is really important too. And you've probably seen this in the news, where like Hurricane Sandy and all these tornadoes and the floods, people always come together. They help each other in disasters. And maybe, we need something so big that it will bring us together, because we are so separated now. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'd say the majority of humans on this planet are.
Yeah.
And we need something to really awaken us.
Yeah. Well, it seems like social media has done more to separate people than it has to actually make them social. I got kind of an off the wall question for you.
Sure.
But
I'm ready.
So with these, these prophets throughout history that have, predicted the future.
Right.
Do you think it's a possibility that what they're seeing as the future was actually what happened in our ancient past?
That's a possibility too. That's a great question. I think that there was Atlantis. There were incredible things going on. It seems to be that there were even some kind of nuclear wars or atomic wars at the time, because they have found green glass all throughout deserts around the world. And green glass, they found out that after World War II, they were, or during World War II, they were experimenting in New Mexico and with the atomic bomb, and they found that it created green glass, sheets of green glass. But what they have found with these deserts, they all seem to have green glass, and there is no volcanic activity to explain it. There was no meteor that hit these areas, and turned it into green glass. There was just nothing to explain it. Not even lightning can do that. Lightning creates just these, I think they're called fulgurites or something like that. They're just little black things that, so it's nothing like the sheets of green glass to explain that. So obviously there was something going on. And of course you find that in the ancient Indian texts.
Right.
There's just many stories of, ancient aliens out there and what they were doing. So it's possible. Or they had time travelers or ETs that actually were telling us about our time.
Yeah.
And they wrote this down for us.
Yeah.
To warn us about where we're headed.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too, is, whether they were having memories of the past or predicting the future, it's still a warning. It's still, hey, this is the path that you're on right now. And, unless you change it, these are the outcomes. We've already seen it happen before.
Right. Exactly.
I wonder if some of the lessons from our past come into the psychic awareness when we are starting to tread down the same roads that we've done in the past. If we're getting ready to make the same mistake, then, the movie of the atomic wars during, ancient India will play through our psychic vision.
Right. Yeah. I've often thought that what we watch on television, how does our subconscious differentiate between the conscious and the subconscious? Would our subconscious really think that some of this really is true? And, it's kind of interesting. And what is time? I don't believe that time is just an illusion. And I think, these ETs, all these stories of ETs going through walls, and they can manipulate time and space. That's really interesting that they can do that. I just think that there's some incredible things. I think that our own military and scientists have invented some incredible things out there. And I think even 3D inserts. And I think ETs have been using that. They look real, but they're not. They feel real. You can touch them. but it's not real. It's Memorex.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that we're going to see more of those. Did you see that? I'm still blown away by this. Box type thing that came out of the clouds over was it El Paso in Texas
right.
last year? Yeah, the end of June. Well, what in the world was that? I mean, and not just a couple of people. There was quite a few people that captured this. So it wasn't a hoax. It was real. And what was it? It looked like it was coming out of a portal in the sky. It was just so weird. I mean, nobody's ever seen a square UFO.
Right.
Bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some bizarre things like that are, that are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Big question mark, right?
Right.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that kind of stuff. God, I wish it would happen every day for everybody. Let's get people really questioning their own reality.
I know.
I mean, because we've gotten so locked into the third dimensional capitalistic paradigm.
Right.
It's all, what can I make? How can I make more money? How can I get more stuff? It's all about the physical mundane. And, more things like that happening to people on a regular basis will take them out of that space and get them thinking about deeper things, deeper thought forms.
Well, I think we're so controlled with the media and even our government and leaders and what they tell us, we mind controlled actually. And what we are told that we should believe. And many people do buy into what we're told, like a 9/11 and so many other things that have happened. It's lies.
Yeah. So, Betsy, what do you see for the coming year and your own personal predictions for good old planet Earth?
Well, I've warned about more extreme weather, tornadoes. We're going to see a lot more, and we're already seeing it. I said that, even though the winter started out kind of mild in the East Coast, remember the 70 degrees and everything, everybody thought, oh, it's going to be a mild winter. Well, now they've been hit with, these huge blizzards. They've never seen so much snow in some of these areas, breaking records. And tonight I was looking at, the huge blizzard across the Midwest. And, it's just crazy, from Denver. And so we're going to see more of this and just flip-flop weather, flooding again, especially springtime. We're going to see huge floods again. And I just want people to be prepared for anything because you never know, and it doesn't hurt to have extra water and have flashlights and medical supplies if you need them, have something where you can get your family together in a hurry and know where they're at. And, there's just so many things that we can do. And I just don't think enough people are prepared out there for these things. We've seen wildfires that raged across the West. That's another thing from the droughts. And, it's crazy.
Well, that's just common sense in our world today.
Mm-hmm. Well,
everybody should have some sort of preparedness plan at least. If they don't have, you don't have to have 30 months or 30 days worth of food and water and all that stuff. 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days worth of stuff. In 3 days, you can figure out how to get more.
Tom, did you hear what these people went in and bought in the East when they were told a big blizzard was coming? They went and bought milk and bread and loaded up on that. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, I wouldn't, you would think that you'd want, water, but to get milk and bread, I don't know. That's kind of strange, but it says that people do that all the time. They just clear out the stores when they hear that there's going to be a hurricane, a tornado, and it's always bread and milk.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess most people don't have a cow in the backyard.
I guess
they gotta have their milk.
They gotta have their milk. Yeah, get your milk. Yeah. So that's one of my predictions. I think technology. We're going to see a lot of incredible things that we thought were science fiction become reality. And I think that anything that is science fiction can become true and reality, like the lightsabers from Star Wars. I think we're going to see that. It's going to be able to stun and paralyze and actually kill people. They're going to work on that. That's coming in our future. I'm not sure how soon that's going to be. The blind are going to see, not through their eyes, but through their minds. I see that happening. There is.
Do you think technologically we're going to come up with something to allow the blind to see?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Oh.
I do. I see something in the future that's going to help forensics. That will capture actually the killer. And I don't want to go into it because I don't want these criminals to know that this is something they're working on, but it will be something taken from the person that died, that they will be able to see who committed the crime. It's going to be kind of interesting.
Psychometry.
A little bit more than that, but
you think this is a technology you feel?
Yeah, it's going to be a new technology that they will be able to gather. Yeah.
You put in there that you see a surprise comet too.
I do see a surprise comet, and I know that they have already said something about a comet that's coming through. I don't remember what. Let's see if I can find what that comet is. They gave it a number. I can't keep up with these comets.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that I'm kind of worried about Pope Francis and maybe the Dalai Lama, that something's going to happen to maybe one of them. It could be health. It could be an attempted assassination. But I'm kind of worried about, about them, and I think they're in danger. I know the Pope has made a couple of comments in the last year that he didn't think he was going to live long, and I thought that was really kind of weird to make that comment.
Yeah, that definitely sounds out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what about? I mean, the news has been on fire, especially here the last couple of days because of the caucuses.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. You knew we had to go to the political thing too, right?
I knew that.
And, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So there seems to be. I'm actually really surprised that Trump is getting as much following as he has.
Yeah.
That actually just shocked me. I thought he would do a Ron Paul on us. He'd fizzle and just kind of fade to the back end.
Sure.
But he's really surprised me with the support that he's getting now, and I think a lot of it has to be attributed to people's dissatisfaction with the establishment, and that he's pretty much bucking the establishment pretty hard.
Right.
And I think that's why he's getting support. But what do you see for the political scene this year? I mean, this is going to be a pretty big year because,
it is.
Oh man, the next president is going to be sitting through, I feel like, one of the most amazing periods in our history.
Oh, I agree with you, Tom. I agree. I did an astrology on each of them. And I know that the wild card, I keep seeing this wild card, and it may not be former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg. I know he said that he might enter the race as an independent, and it kind of depends on what happens between Hillary and Bernie. So we're going to have to watch that. I wrote about each one of them. Bernie is a Virgo. He was born on September 8th, 1941. If he is elected, he would be the oldest president ever elected, because Ronald Reagan was the oldest so far. He was 70 years old when he was elected in 1981. So it'll be kind of interesting. But I think Bernie, I found that people that are born on the 8th seem to have some kind of karmic thing going on, and it depends on the life he's lived and everything. So I don't see Bernie as president. I really don't. Don't
Yeah.
see Bernie Sanders there. Ben Carson, no, he'll put us to sleep.
Right.
He
Right.
puts himself to sleep.
Right.
Jeb Bush, no way. He was born on a master number. He's an Aquarius. Watch out for his temper. Now he's not going to win. Ted Cruz, I still don't see him there. Hillary, no, I think there's still going to be more things coming out about her private cell phone emails and more scandal with her as time goes on. I'm just not seeing it. And, I'm still trying to see Trump as president. And, he's got a foreign wife, and seeing her as first lady, I can't see that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see them and visualize this, and I can't see it. And I don't know why there's that block. And maybe he's not going to be president. That's what I'm wondering, why I'm seeing this block.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, it's going to be a really interesting campaign.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, and right now, it's just a big question mark in my mind who I can see in that place.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid Hillary makes it. I mean, she is, she's got bloody hands already. So
yes, she does.
I mean, and her whole campaign message is fight, 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 fight. Mm-hmm. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight against, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight.
Right.
And I mean, almost every one of her speeches that she's given so far, I mean, it's just laced with the word fight.
Yeah, that's interesting. You noticed that. That's really
interesting. I don't want that in the White House.
No.
That's just not good. That's not good for us because, words are things too,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
What we project out there comes back.
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody leading our country that's projecting fight out there.
She's a Scorpio, and watch out for that sting. She's got a good one. And, she's not a truthful person, and obviously she hasn't been truthful about these emails and Benghazi and everything else. And who wants that as a president who's going to be dishonest with the people? And I think that's why people like Trump, even though he's got a big mouth. And he's so bombastic, he says anything. I think they like him because they think he's telling us the truth of what he wants to really do.
Yeah.
And, I think he's got to pull in a little bit and not be so.
Not so brash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If Bernie gets the nomination over Hillary,
mm-hmm.
I think I can see Bernie in office.
Can you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't. I really can't see Hillary there at all. And
no, I can't either.
And I just don't think Trump will get enough of the conservative vote to get there.
What really bugs me is that Donald has been good friends with the Clintons, for a long time. He's they've been good buddies. And all of a sudden, is he going to just turn his back on everybody at the last minute? I don't know. He was asked that question. I can't think of who the news reporter was, but he kind of he didn't say, they said, you're not going to back out or anything. And he didn't really answer the question. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Why didn't he really answer, it was on Alex Jones' InfoWars. Yeah, that's interesting. He was a guest on Alex Jones' InfoWars talk show. And I even put where you can listen to it. I've got it on my website under my predictions where you can just watch the interview. And Alex asked him if he had promised not to do, that he wouldn't just jump out at the last minute. And Trump did not answer the question, but instead danced around the question. So that's why I thought, well, that's kind of strange. He should have come right out and said, no, I'd never do that to my followers,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting campaign season. And, I'm not much for watching media. I don't have TV. I get most of my information from, just the stuff I come across on the internet, and I listen to NPR.
Oh, good.
So
That's excellent.
I get pretty impartial information. But it's just right now, it's everything I come across is saturated with this campaign and everything that's going on around it. So, I mean, it's hard to avoid right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still, one of my other predictions is about Princess Diana. It's been 19 years since her death. Both she and Dodi Fayed on August 31st, 1997, which is an 11 number. It totals 11. That's an Illuminati number. But I've always felt that there will be more evidence that points to a murder.
Oh, you think some more is going to come out on that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think this year there's going to be more coming out on it. I really do.
Maybe somebody's spilling the beans?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope somebody does. Their life is probably in danger, but yeah, I think there's going to be something that comes out on it. And it might be Dodi Fayed's dad, who's been saying that for a long time, that it was it was murder.
Yeah. So what do you see along the lines of we've got this whole ISIS crap going on, and the trumping up of the Christians versus Muslim war, right? What do you see there this next year?
Well, I just see more of that going on. I think there's just going to be more U.S. troops going into the area. And of course, Russia has stepped in. I'm afraid there's going to be some kind of mishap or something, some misunderstanding, just something that's going to cause a big commotion over there. And I'm not sure what exactly it is, but it could lead to another war if we don't watch out. The whole area is ready to explode with the beheadings and mass killings and bombings and just horrible things going on over there. And, I think by the end of the year, we're going to find ways to actually, get rid of some of these people in ISIS. But I don't think we're going to be cutting off the head of the major players in ISIS. And, that's really the sad part, because I think there's going to be more bombings. I see that worldwide. There's just going to be more things that they're going to be doing. Planes going down and other things. It's crazy. It's just such a different world that we live in. If wars were fought the way they were fought in World War I and World War II, and they weren't, they were horrible things going on then, but it's just a totally different place in our world.
And somebody sitting in Texas can drop a bomb in Iraq.
Yeah, with the bombs that we have and how we can knock out things by hacking into computers and we've got drones now that watch us and can do all kinds of things. It's just technology out of balance. It's it's just so weird, and I keep shaking my head. I'm going, why did I choose to come into this planet at this time? What was I thinking?
Yeah, I felt this for quite a while. Our technology and our third dimensional growth has outpaced our inner growth by quite a bit. Mm-hmm. We don't know how to responsibly handle the technology that's come our way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, it's exhibited all over the planet that's why you're on the world stage, is because of what we're doing to planet Earth, what we're doing to Mother Earth with the technology that we do have.
Right.
We haven't balanced that out with ourselves yet.
We just don't put technology to use in the proper way. It always seems to be for destructive things. And I'm not saying everything. We have some wonderful and exciting medical cures and technology and But so much of it is for destruction, and that's
Okay.
the sad part. I think in the future, I see a future, a golden age where people actually work together, and they don't care about, what religion they are, what color they are, it's going to be a unity. It's going to be people caring about each other, and this may take 100 years or so, but I do see that eventually. And I know that that's what a lot of the prophets have foreseen too. The indigenous people, they say as we go from the fourth world into the fifth world, it's going to be a new world. And it's going to be a cleansed world, a healed world, and we're going to be healed too.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be the ones that are doing the healing.
Yes.
Yeah,
We need that.
once that 100th monkey finally gets on board.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Tom. Excellent. Yeah, the 100th monkey. Come on, everybody, let's awaken. It's time,
Yeah.
Earth is trying to wake us up here, and she needs our help, She really does. And we can all do our part, The Dalai Lama said, if you think you're too small, not to do anything, try sleeping with a mosquito. And, that says it all, that we can all do our part to help the earth. And we can all come back to, the natural way of living and living in harmony with earth again, and all the creatures, and honoring the creatures, because they are sentient beings. They have, I believe they have souls, and, realizing that water has a consciousness. The indigenous people have known these things about the elements, and everything around us is so alive. They talk to the elements, and that's something we don't do. I know there's a few people out there that talk to trees or hug trees, but they're alive. Everything's alive. And I've read books where people have talked about what the other side is like, and they say that we can't even imagine that all these things are so much more alive on the other side. It's kind of a mirror of what the earth is like, but the colors are so intense. And I guess supposedly when insects die on this side, they go over and they're like these beautiful, beautiful light creatures that just turn into, I guess like fireworks. It's so beautiful. We can't even imagine what the other side is like. And I think that we're more alive on the other side. That's our true home. And this is just kind of a temporary place that we come to learn.
Now, and you one of your predictions is other side communications.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think we'll come up with a technology that's able to, give Aunt Clara a phone call?
Yeah. But I think we have to watch out who we actually talk to. We might get Satan himself. Hello, this is Satan. Can I help you, Lucifer?
Yeah.
No, but I do. I think that there are different dimensions on the other side, and there are lower dimension entities that exist there. But I think that we will be able to do that, and I think some people have actually tuned in to, other, entities or people that have passed on with ELF by using reel-to-reel tapes or tape recorders, and they pick up voices.
Right.
These ghost hunters do it all the time, and they pick up voices. So I think we're on the verge of getting something that we can actually talk to our
figuring out what frequency that is that they're transmitting on. Yeah.
Right. It's going to be like dialing in on a radio, You just have to fine tune it and get the right radio station, and you're talking to them. So that'll be really cool, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, there's been several. There was this. Who did the spirit phone? Was that Thomas Edison?
I think it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Thomas Edison had the spirit phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's been all sorts of them throughout our own history here in the U.S. where people have developed things that worked, quote unquote, worked and got buried.
Right.
But yeah, that would be exciting, actually. I'm looking for something that removes the shadow of doubt from people's minds about the continuance of life. Because everybody has this finite impression, that's what we're told, what's what we're
Right.
taught.
Yeah.
You only have one life to live.
Mm-hmm.
That is beat into us through our whole lifetimes. And so we act out in that way. You got to get as much as I can while I'm alive because I'm not coming back.
Right.
And so, if we have something that has that undeniable, indisputable proof of the other side that nobody can dispute, that's a game changer right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big
Yeah.
game changer for all of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been reading a new book by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and another author, I can't think of her name, but it's about children that from age 3 to 4, 5 years old that remember the other side, and they make comments to their parents. I remember when you were my sister, or I was your mommy in a past life, or I remember being up in the clouds with God, and there was this hole, and when I was ready to be born, I dropped down in the hole, and
yeah.
and just incredible. These are stories from all over the world, and these children are so amazing. And then as we get older, we forget about the other side, because it's just, we're so close to that vibration when we're little, and we remember all these things about the other side and the angels and God and what it's like. And I think we just have to listen to children more closely, because they know. They're the teachers if we listen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. Yeah. So, Betsy, we've almost burned up this hour already, if you can believe that.
No.
Anything else we need to get out there for our listeners before we let you go? I know you make sure you tell people where they can get a hold of your book.
Sure.
And all your books.
Okay. They're all on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback. You can go to my website and read more about my books. Just go to BetseyLewis.com, and Betsy is spelled Betsey. Lewis is Lewis. And go to my predictions page, or go to my Earth News 1 page, where I post predictions about earthquakes. If I'm feeling something happening, because I watch the USGS all the time, I post all these big earthquakes going on. I post volcanoes going off, anything going on with the sun, because the sun actually creates a lot of these earthquakes when we get geomagnetic rays and get bombarded by it.
Right.
And that causes earthquakes worldwide. I've got UFO reports, anything out of the ordinary, and there's some pretty incredible things like the booms that are going on, and there's a lot of them going on all over the world. So check it out.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Betsy, thank you so much, dear, for joining us again, and much luck with this book in 2016.
And I'll be floating around there as a nature spirit.
You are our nature spirit. I just love that.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom, and Elifie. You're just great. I love being on your show, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
All right. Well, keep up the great work, and we'll keep in contact for sure. And
sounds great.
Actually, this is going to be a really interesting year, guys. And
it is.
I mean, just I think all of us need to make sure that we pay attention to our own contributions to life and to the world around us. And it doesn't take that much energy or that much effort to throw that McDonald's wrapper in the garbage versus out your window, or that sort of thing. Let's look at what you're doing and how you live your life, and and whether or not what you're doing is detracting from or adding to the problems that we all know that we're facing here on planet Earth. And just think about it, it's good stuff, and you get good feelings when you know that you're doing the best that you can to help this planet sustain itself and help humanity sustain ourselves here and raise us up and not drag us down. So.
Well, that's so true, Tom. I believe in the butterfly effect, and that's kind of a theory, a chaos theory that describes that, and that could be related to both negative and positive, that a hurricane on one side of the earth can cause, a butterfly on one side of the world can cause a hurricane on the other.
Right.
So that's just saying that we're all related. Everything is related, and, it's amazing how we influence each other.
It is. It really is, especially when you see people make a different choice.
Yes.
I mean, it's huge. A different choice from what you typically do, that's huge for everybody because that's change. Mm-hmm. That's movement forward. Let's choose to do something different. I like that.
I do too.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week. Actually, I've got a show coming up here this next week. We're going to do a Tomunism show. I'm going to kind of share Tom's philosophies, ideas, and theory of everything. And LFE is going to kind of act as moderator and throw the primary questions out there for us. And
we'll poke and prod him.
We'll see how this goes. I've got a lot to say, and I've put a lot of things together for myself, and I think it's about time that I get something out there. So look forward to that, and we will see you guys on the next show. BetseyLewis.com, and condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Namaste, my friend.